Let's learn some stuff. And as I'm talking, you're like, wait a second, this doesn't make sense, or I'm confused. What about this? What about this? What about this? Let's do that. So I'm not just a YouTube. Oh yeah. Oh, this kind of stuff. Start about talking about transgendered stuff. All right. All right. We're gonna get in that a little bit. Okay. If we're gonna talk about this. How fast it's happening. I talked about language. Language changes. Here's the clip of Joe Biden that I wanted to just share. I don't know if I need
to everyone celebrating Transgender Day of Visibility. I want you to know that your president sees you. Jill, Kamala, Doug, our entire administration sees you for who you are, made in the image of God and deserving of dignity, respect, and support.
Okay, so the president says, I see you. What that means is if you present yourself as, even though you're biologically male, you present yourself as a woman, I see you as a woman. Okay, cool. That sounds like a nice thing. Okay, as the president. Okay. But policy doesn't say the same thing. U.S. Elective Service says trans women must register for the draft. Women, you do not have to register for the draft. So if we get into a war and they don't have enough volunteers, they have to pull people out. Only the men. So which one is it? It's like saying the nice thing, but then not making policy behind it. That seems confusing for people. Like, are they a woman or not? Because the policy over here says they're not. The policy over here for selective service says, no, you're a biological man. You're a man. Okay. But what he's saying over here is you are a woman. I see you. So why isn't he consistent? What do you think it is? Like, why isn't he consistent? Why doesn't he just say, like, sorry, guys, you're a dude because we need you for the draft? Or why doesn't he say, you know what? I see you. So if you're a trans woman, you don't have to go to war. Either way, I'm not saying which way it should be. I'm saying, like, it's inconsistent here. So why doesn't he stay consistent?
Maybe so like more people like him.
Says the nice thing, right?
Yeah, so he says like what people want to hear and like not really what's best.
Yeah,
I
but why?
mean,
Okay, so I'm with you on that. So, but why doesn't he then say that trans women, you don't have to register for the draft then? Like, why doesn't he keep that? Why doesn't he keep that part? So if just wants to be nice and say, like, it's a nice thing to acknowledge trans people for who they say they are, then why doesn't he do that with the draft? What do you think? Yeah, you guys chime in. You don't need to raise your hand or anything. We're all in this together. There's the four of us in this call. What do you think?
Because they're still biologically male.
Yeah. So if you're biologically male, then you have to register for the draft because we need men in the draft. Isn't that unfair? I mean, why can't ladies be in the draft? Why can't, if we go to war, why ladies pick up an M16 and let's go shoot people too? I mean, let's say we go to war with China or we go to war with Russia or something like that. Okay. So Isaac, you got to go. Okay. Well, as soon as you turn 18, you got to go. Okay. Alana, Harry, you don't have to go. Let's say, Isaac, you're like, I don't want to go fight over there. You out of your mind? What's a way you could get out of it? Hold on. Oh, you're muted. Oh, I think the microphone's not working. Is it? Nope. All right, you can probably answer for him until he gets a. Oh yeah, you got to. Yeah, yeah. What would be a way out?
My mic got broken. Wait.
Oh, you're good now.
Okay, there we go. Identify as a woman, and then I could get out of it.
What am I gonna deny your humanity? That's the language I use. Don't deny their humanity. So you just say, I'm a woman. I'm gonna be like, no, you're not. I said, no, you're not. I've known you now for like 6 months. You're not. I am. Don't, Mr. Roosh, don't you deny my humanity, transphobe. You know, I mean, during the Vietnam War, which we're going to get to in the U.S. history class, like a lot of people did not want to go over to the war. So they left. They went to Canada. They burned their draft cards. They're like, I'm not going to fight a bunch of Vietnamese people who didn't do anything to me. The best boxer at the time was a guy named Muhammad Ali. He's like one of the greatest boxers of all time. And at his peak, when he was the world champion, he's like, I'm not going over to Vietnam and kill some guy. He's like, that's not that guy didn't do anything to me. I'm not going. So they stripped his boxing license. He was tied up in courts for like 2 years in his prime because he stood by that conviction. You know, I mean, you guys are Christians on the call. I'm going to talk a little bit about that today, actually. But there might be a thing of like turn the other cheek. You know, as a Christian, I don't want to go shoot people. I'm not saying that soldiers can't be Christian. You know, I mean, we have to defend, you know, what's against evil in the world. But yeah, I mean, another interesting one is prisons. Is there are dozens, maybe more, inmates in prison right now, female prisons who are biological men. So if I get arrested for something, even though I didn't do it, let's just say like, I got convicted of some horrible crime. Okay. Whatever it is, hurting someone. I'm driving drunk, I hit someone, I get sentenced to 7 years in prison. Would I rather go to a male prison or a female prison? Like, I'd rather go to a female prison. In a male prison, I got to deal with like dudes who can definitely overpower me, hurt me, beat me up, make me their girlfriend. Like that. This is stuff that I don't want to have to deal with. So I might just say I identify this way. You know, and one of the things we talked about last class, I think, was how when you identify as trans, it doesn't even necessarily have to do with your reproductive organs. Because Leah Thomas, who was the NCAA swimming champion, still had, I mean, I think, I didn't know, I wasn't like hiding in a locker in the locker room, but as far as what it says, the reports are that still has like a penis and testicles. So it's just how you identify. But I think most men would rather go to a female prison than a male prison. So you just identify. So do you see me or not? You're trying to take an easier route out, and you will take that way out if you can. I think that's interesting. Talking about this thing of Nicki Minaj of can you be sexual but not sexualized if you wear revealing clothes? What does that mean that men should not be allowed in society to look at you if you wear like sexy clothes, is it wrong for men to look at you in a sexualized way? Like, well, if it makes you feel uncomfortable, yeah. But we can recognize it's wrong, but it's also, it is what it is. You know, like ladies, I don't know if you see some dude who's like ripped with a six pack and stuff like that, and he has like a tight shirt on, you see his muscles, you might be like, that looks good. But if he wears a tight shirt, that's a choice he's making. And if he says, don't look at me like a piece of meat, it's like, well, I'll try, but you can't always help the way that your initial like emotional reaction to things are. Does that make sense? You know, and that gets really confusing for people. So I did a podcast yesterday with this dude named Diego Arjen, and he was trans. This is him. So he was trans, became very depressed after transitioning, looked up to heaven, was like, I'm at rock bottom. I hate my life. God, please save me. And he did. He got baptized. He runs a Christian apparel brand, like clothing brand and stuff like that now. Really interesting story. And talked about a lot of different elements of this. I'm just gonna play you like the very beginning of the podcast. Because I just took like a couple of like snippets of it. It's really interesting on YouTube here. Just
The
listen like
same
30
exact
minutes.
words. You can take their exact words that they're throwing at you about how you're.
Okay, so what I'm talking about here is the hate that Diego's getting is from the trans community. The trans community is like, how dare you turn your back on the trans community and become a Jesus person? Okay. But also getting hate from Christians, Christian conservatives who are saying, like, you are bad, you're evil because you were transgender. So he's getting it from both sides. So I'm just gonna play this for like a minute. This is interesting.
The same exact words. You can take their exact words that they're throwing at you about how you're denying your real self and you can't ever change. You can't actually be the person that you want to be. That's what they're saying to you. And that's the same thing that gets said to the trans community all the time, that they see as like transphobic and denying people's humanity and all of that kind of stuff. They're denying your humanity. They're denying your story. That's the crazy element of this, is you said, I was trans, but I was not trans. I was mistaken. I made a mistake. And now I see the light. Now I know who I really am. And the trans community elements of it are coming after you saying, that's not who you are. You're who I say you are. That's unbelievable to me. It really is. It's so obvious.
Like, now that I decided to give my life to Jesus, they think that this is not the right path. Like, no, you should go back. Like, they even call me she or her. They still call me she, even though I already go to the world as him.
They're dead naming you. They're messing up your pronouns. You know what
yes,
I mean?
exactly.
When they say, why do you dine with tax collectors and sinners and prostitutes? He said, it's the sick that need a doctor, not the healthy. I came here for the sick. And you were, I mean, I don't mean sorry, but you would probably admit it, like you were sick. So Jesus came and he healed you. And the fact that Christians are coming after you for getting your pathway right.
You know, so he's in a tough spot, you know, but part of the walk of being a Jesus person is recognizing that people can change their ways, you know, and having grace for that, not getting a lot of that. So it's a really cool, I don't know, I think it was a really cool conversation. Do we talk about the Equal Rights Amendment? Maybe a little bit? Yeah. So it sounds good. Let's have equal rights for women and men, but that can get rid of female-only spaces. Like, ladies, is there like a place that you just want to be around other women? Like, you're more comfortable if you're only around other women in these spaces? Like, if a dude was in there, it would make you feel uncomfortable? Yeah, Harry, yeah, no.
I don't know. I can't really think of anything like specifically.
Locker rooms?
Oh yeah, that. Yeah.
Bathrooms?
Yeah.
If a dude walked in looking like a dude, walked into the bathroom, you might be like, oh, that makes me feel uncomfortable. You're changing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's something that some of the female swimmers said about that person, Leah Thomas, is like, it was uncomfortable. Like, when you're in a women's locker room, you don't want to see male genitalia. Like, it just doesn't make me feel comfortable. Now you could say, Leah Thomas, get out, then it does make Leah Thomas feel comfortable. It's back to, remember when we talked about civil rights? The problem with civil rights is, at what point do your rights violate mine? If I say you have to hire this person, you have to bake a cake for this person, you have to do this for this person, well, now I'm forcing you to do something you don't want to do, so this other person is free to do the thing that they want to do. It's not simple. So I talk about that.
Over the course of her career,
Okay, so the gender wage gap. I play this? Okay, so gender wage gap, this idea that women earn 77 cents to the dollar. Claudia Golden's work proved that what that is you take all men's jobs and you take all women's jobs, you average their salaries together, women earn less. But a lot of that is the jobs that women choose compared to the jobs that men choose. It's not men and women working the same job, doing the same work, the same hours, and women getting paid significantly less. That's not what it is. Okay. In middle school, math and science, women excel. I mean, you know this, like in middle school, it wasn't like, oh, the boys do so much better than the girls. Not at all. But as you get older, when you go like when people are 25, who fills up those science positions is more men than women. You know, at a law school, Alana, I know you thought about, going to law school. Women outperform men at a law school. So all throughout their like late 20s, women do better than men as lawyers. But then they turn 30 and they go, you know what? I don't want to work 80 hours a week. I just don't want to. I want to have babies. I want to stay at home. I want to stay at home. I want to spend time with my children. Yeah, but we're paying you $300 an hour. It's like, I don't care. I don't want to do that. I don't want to miss this time with my child. And sometimes women are actually vilified. Society will say, that's wrong. Ladies, you should go out. You should be a hustler. You should go out. You should make a lot of money. And then you're made to feel bad if you don't. Like if you told your teachers, like, like, what do you want to be when you grow up, Harriet? And you're like, I want to be a mom. They're like, no. Oh, no, you don't. What do you mean? Why? Yes, I do. What's wrong with that? But you have so much potential. You can do so many things. Yeah, and I want to be a mom. Why is that bad? Like, does that get promoted in schools? Not really. Not too often.
I mean, so that's my idea of the patriarchy.
Okay, so in this is Dr. Jordan Peterson. He is a clinical psychologist, knows a lot about psychology, like how the brain works and stuff. And in this interview, this woman is saying, I didn't play this yet, right? Okay. This woman's saying that there's a patriarchy. Okay, you might have heard that term before. That men dominate society. This is a man's world. Men dominate society. Okay? So she says it's a tyrannical patriarchy. It's men in positions of power using tyranny, like an abuse of that power to just help men. And listen to his response here.
I mean, so that's my idea of the patriarchy, which is a system of male dominance of society.
Yeah, but that's not my sense of the patriarchy.
So what's yours?
Well, in what sense is our society male dominated?
The fact that the vast majority of wealth is owned by men, the vast majority of capital is owned by men. Women do more unpaid labor.
Very tiny proportion of men, and a huge proportion of people who are seriously disaffected are men. Most people in prison are men. Most people who are on the street are men. Most victims of violent crime are men. Most people who commit suicide are men. Most people who die in wars are men. People who do worse in school are men. It's like, where's the dominance here precisely? What you're doing is you're taking a tiny substrata of hyper-successful men and using that to represent the entire structure of Western society. There's nothing about that that's vaguely appropriate.
But I could say equally well that most rape victims are women. Terrible things happen to people of both sexes.
And you could say that with perfect utility, but that doesn't provide any evidence for the existence of a male-dominated patriarchy. Well, it just means that terrible things happen to both genders, which they certainly do.
But there are almost no women who rape men, for example. So that is an asymmetry there in sexual violence.
Well, yes, there's an asymmetry in all sorts of places, but that doesn't mean that Western culture is a male-dominated patriarchy. The fact that there are asymmetries has nothing to do with your basic argument.
No, but you might equally...
This is a trope that people just accept. Western society is a male-dominated patriarchy. It's like, no, it's not. That's not true. And even if it has a patriarchal structure to some degree, the fundamental basis of that structure is not power, it's competence. That's why our society works. It's only when structure degenerates into tyranny, that the fundamental relationships between people become dependent on power. It's not power. If you hire a plumber who's likely to be male, it's not because there's roving bands of tyrannical plumbers forcing you to make that choice. And it's the case with almost every interaction that you have at the face of our culture. You're dealing with people who are offering a service of one form or another, who are usually part of the broad middle class, and who offer, and what you're looking for is the person who can offer the best service, and you can find it. It's not a consequence of being dominated by anything that's tyrannical.
So why is it that we look at like CEOs of companies, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, they're all dudes. It's like, yeah, but so is your plumber. So is your mason that's building a wall. So the vast majority of who are chopping wood, right, Isaac? Like, it's mostly men. But what about people who are guiding pre-K children towards feeling nurtured, safe, guiding them into literacy, mostly women? But those jobs pay less. A preschool teacher gets paid a lot less than someone who runs Amazon. Is that because of tyranny? Is that because of an abuse of power? No, I think it's because if you run Amazon, you can serve 1 million people. But if you're a preschool teacher, you can serve 30, 40. Like, there's a scale element of this. And if men are more interested in things and women more interested in people, as a generalization, things are more easily scalable. You can reach more people, which means you can charge more people. Also the jobs that pay well, which would be like underwater welders. You go down deep depths of like oil rigs and you weld when you're 400 feet underwater. Mostly men. An extremely dangerous
A lot
job.
of life risking jobs is men.
Yeah, right. A lot of the 93%, I think I gave you guys statistics last class, like 93% of the people who die on the job are men. Not a lot of preschool teachers die on the job. But a lot of electricians die on the job. They get electrocuted and they die. So why are men more likely to take those risky jobs? Because men, again, a generalization, but so it might not be for an individual. Alana, you might be more risk-taking than Isaac, but that doesn't mean that if it's just the two of you, that's not a good way to do data. You have to look across the whole structure of society. You have to look across millions of people. Men are more likely to take risks. Why? Because what we're programmed to do is go out and hunt woolly mammoths. We're like cavemen still. Okay? Ladies, you can't take risks because you're here. Whether or not you choose to have kids, like, that's up to you. But like, you're here to raise children. Okay, you got to carry the baby inside of you for 9 months. That's really, really hard. You can't take risks when you're carrying a baby. When you have a baby, not like, hey, I found these berries. Are they poisonous or not? I don't know. Let's risk it. Like, you don't want to risk that because then you risk raising a baby. Where men are like, oh, there's a caribou over there. I'm going to try and go kill it. There's an inherent drive to be more risky. Most stunt people are stunt men. All right, if you say like, hey, my cousin this weekend decided to jump their dirt bike over a flaming school bus, I would probably be like, it was a dude, right? That was a male cousin. If I said, hey, one of my former students got really into skydiving or base jumping without a parachute or something like that, you'd be like, there's a dude, right? Like, dudes do dumb things. Dumb things are sometimes interpreted as risky things. What are you thinking? Because you're just more likely to take risks. Again, because it's like programmed in us to take risks. And when you take extra risks, you're more likely to die, as we said men are, but you're also more likely to succeed. You bet big on the game. Let's say the Super Bowl was yesterday. And let's say you go, you know what? I think the Eagles are going to win, or I think the Chiefs are going to win. I'm going to bet everything I have. I have $800 in the bank. I'm going to bet it all. Well, you can lose it all then. You can win it all, but you could lose it all. And that's more likely to be male. Women are less likely to go, you know what? I'm going to just risk it all. Again, because you're not programmed to risk it all, because the all historically, evolutionarily, is raising babies. Does that make sense? Do you guys have any questions about that or pushback? Or you'd be like, no, Mr. Roos, you're wrong for this reason. I love being told I'm wrong because I want to try and figure it out. That checks out. Makes sense? Okay. Data is changing. What's happening is women are out earning young men. In your 20s, women are earning more money than men in their 20s. Interesting. Women are more likely to go to universities. Colleges are being filled up with more women than men. Okay. Now, what does that mean? Well, this is interesting too. So I want to hear your thoughts on this. Women tend to marry across or up the socioeconomic hierarchy. Socioeconomic means in society, in society. Economic is money, and there's a hierarchy, people at the top, people at the bottom. Typically, women don't marry men who make less money than them. Think about the women in your life. Most women in your life probably earn as much or less than the men in your life. And even if you know a couple that don't, I'm guessing that 50% or more do. So what does that mean for the men? If the women are out earning the men, what does that mean? Now there's a smaller group of men who are deemed as acceptable mates, acceptable partners, acceptable husbands, acceptable fathers. So what do men do? They get more risk taking. They have to bet bigger. I don't have enough money, so now I have to take bigger risks. And that's exactly what's happening is men are taking bigger risks. They could be betting big on sports gambling, could be betting big on crypto. In like bad neighborhoods, it means I'm going to start selling drugs because I got to out earn the women, because if I make a lot of money, I can find myself a wife. So it's a driver to get a mate. You ask a lot of young men, why are you working so hard? Why are you taking these risks? Like, so I can get a girl. I need a girlfriend. So this is causing a lot of instability in society because men are going to start acting in ways that are very dangerous for themselves and possibly for everybody by taking these risks. And we're seeing this happen more and more and more in society.
Hi, what's your name? My name is
Okay,
Benjamin Glaze.
double
I'm 19
standard.
years old.
Okay, now this is interesting. About maybe like 6 years ago, there was this big push of this idea called the Me Too movement, which was that this guy right here, Harvey Weinstein, he had one of the biggest movie studios in all of Hollywood. Okay, this guy was like a big deal, friends with Oprah, the whole thing. Okay, he ran like a movie studio, so he made movies. Okay, and what it turned out was that he was a horrible sexual predator, basically. He was really bad. What he would do is if you wanted to be an actress, he'd say, meet me at this hotel. Then you go and meet Harvey Weinstein. Like, okay, cool, I'll meet you at the hotel. And he would basically lay it out there. He would say, you perform this, you engage with me in a sexual way, an intimate way, and I will make you a star. And he can. He runs the movie studio. He could say, put this woman in a lead role in this big box office movie. All you got to do is you got to hook up with me. And a lot of women did, like a lot of big movie stars that are like household names, they did that. And it got revealed and he was like, vilified and said like, this is a terrible thing. That's an abuse of power. Clearly, bad dude. Is there a double standard? What if he was a woman? What if he was a woman in that power? And he brought young men, or she brought young men to a hotel room and said, hey, you hook up with me, I will bring you an amazing role and you'll be a big action star. Okay, so American Idol, this show, it's like a singing competition show. I want you to show this. So this in the middle is Katy Perry, big musician, musical star. And this young guy right here, oh my God. Okay, this young guy comes in, and if he does a good audition, he moves on to Hollywood and he gets on the television show. If he doesn't do well in this audition, then he disappears. Watch what Katy Perry does. And what I want you to think about, is this a double standard? Katy Perry in this is probably about 40 years old. This guy is like 19 or 18. So legally an adult, not a child, but 18, 19 is still, it's young. Just because the law says you're an adult, you're not really an adult. Your brain actually isn't done for forming the prefrontal cortex until you're about 25. So you're technically, biologically not an adult until you're 25, even though we say that you're an adult. Now watch this. And as you're watching it, whether or not it makes you feel uncomfortable, imagine the situation was reversed. This is a young woman, a 19-year-old woman, not much older than you. And this is a 40-year-old man with tremendous power, big star, able to get you into Hollywood. Here, watch this.
Well, hello. And what do you do for work, Benjamin?
I'm a cashier at an electronics store, but I love it because sometimes there's cute girls and they're not going anywhere without saying hi.
You get a cute girl to say hi to you because they gotta check out.
Has a racket already.
Wow.
Come on.
Have you kissed a girl and liked it?
No, I've never been in a relationship.
Really?
I can't kiss a girl without being in a relationship.
Come here, Benjamin.
No, wait, hold on.
Okay, hold on. No, that's something. He said, have you ever kissed a girl and liked it? Because that's a Katy Perry song. I kissed a girl and I liked it. Okay. Have you ever kissed a girl? He said, no. You never kissed a girl? You're 19 years old. What do you mean you never kissed? How do you get to be 19 years old and not kiss a girl? Well, there's two reasons, really. I really want to kiss a girl, but no girls want to kiss me. Or I am saving that intimate interaction of having a kiss for someone that I'm in a relationship with and I love, which is kind of a cool thing. But watch what happens. So it says, no, I've never kissed a girl. So Katy Perry stands up and says, come here. No, I'm not coming there. Well, I decide if you go to Hollywood or not. Watch.
Come here.
Come on.
Come here right now.
They're laughing, clapping.
You can't
Come here right now. Come here.
Saying no, clearly uncomfortable.
What, on the cheek?
On the cheek.
You didn't even make the smush sound.
Right, okay. Let me start over. Okay.
Did you get it?
They're high-fiving. Yeah.
Come on. And he fell down. He fell down.
Dancing, high-fiving. What do you think?
I think it makes good television.
It does? Yeah. Yeah. Smiling. So he must be happy. Dudes would be like, you got to kiss Katy Perry. Stop whining. You got to kiss Katy Perry. He clearly didn't want to. But now he's in this audition. He's kind of forced into it. And if the situation was reversed, I don't know if that's something that we'd be high-fiving over. Some 40-year-old dude was like, come over here. You never, a young girl walks in. You've never kissed a guy? You never kissed a man? Get over here. Let me give you your first kiss. There's a double standard here. Are we okay with that? Society seems to be. Oh. Okay, men. As a generalization, just to understand, because we're talking about gender here, men tend to be less agreeable, physically stronger, more daring, risk failure, and not bound by biological time. What that means is men can have babies into their 70s. Ladies, you hit menopause, you have a finite amount of eggs in your ovaries, and you can only have babies up until early menopause, which is like 45 years old. After 45, it gets really difficult to have babies. And after like 55, you typically can't have babies. Men can. So that puts pressure on women to be like, I got to get out of this job so I can start having babies. Or I got to find a partner so I can be a mom. Guys are like, I can be a dad anytime. That's a big difference in how that's going to interact in society. Women tend to be more nurturing, more averse to failure. I can't fail because you can fail hunting a buffalo, but you can't really fail raising a baby. And there's an unknown biological clock. You actually don't know. It's not like when you turn 42, you can't have babies anymore. You don't really know when it is, but there is a time. And as you get older, there's also a higher risk of complications in pregnancy. More likely to have physical and mental disabilities the older you get to have babies. So when we understand this about men, then things start to make more sense. The agreeable thing. This is another thing that leads to pay. If you go into your boss, and your boss says, hey, we're going to give you a raise. It's going to be a 10% raise. Men are more likely to go, give me 20%. Women are more likely to go, cool, I'll take a 10% raise. Thank you. Agreeable. Because when a baby is saying, I'm hungry, you say, okay, I'll give you your food. So this is the way it's playing out in society, even though it's the same genetics as cavemen. So this is interesting. Okay. In Scandinavian countries, Norway, Finland, Sweden, it's very egalitarian. And what egalitarian means is they take away all of the things that are all of the inequalities in society, things like maternity leave, paternity leave, things like that. They promote that women, ladies, you can be anything you want to be when you grow up. Guys, you can be anything you want to be when you grow up. And what they thought this policy was going to do is get more men into preschool teachers and more women into being engineers and electricians. And the opposite happened. The opposite happened. You can see, this is in Switzerland, 98% of electricians are men. 91% of technicians, IT, information technology, like computer scientists and stuff. These are all men. Down here, domestic staff, medical nursing assistants, nurses, care workers, social workers, primary school teachers. Those tend to be more women. If you take an elementary school teacher, like a first grade teacher, it's less about the subject. A first grade teacher is less likely to be like, let's talk about the details of chemistry. And they're more likely to be like, how do you feel today, Tommy? Are you okay? Are you sad? They're focused on the person. As you get up to high school, more male teachers. Why more male teachers? Because they're focused on chemistry. I'm sad, Mr. Roosh. It's like, whatever. We're going to learn chemistry today. They're focused on the thing. What jobs are in the middle? What jobs are close to 50-50? Administrative staff, merchants, doctors. Doctors is interesting. Doctors are almost 50-50. Why? Because they're both things and people. There are certain doctors that just love biology. They want to fix bodies. They want to fix things inside the body. But there's also an element of doctors that's like, I want to care for this person. So careers that focus on people and things tend to be more equal when it comes to men and women. Interesting. I think this is interesting. Hey, does this make sense? Kind of cool. Okay. Aggressive salary negotiations are more likely to be men. They push back. I want more money. I want more money. Pinball, pool, and masonry. These are areas where men tend to excel over women. Okay. Masonry would be because it's like hard physical labor. Excuse me. You're lifting bricks all day. Easier when you have bigger muscles. Men carry more muscle mass. Men are less buoyant than women. They have more muscles. Not to say that there aren't women that are stronger. Serena Williams is way stronger than me. I'm sure she can squat more weight than me. But the strongest squat is by a man. If the discrepancies in society are because of choice, and they're not because of because women aren't allowed to be masons, they're not allowed to play pool, isn't that a good thing? Women, you're not precluded. It's not like you can't do these things. You're just choosing not to. And the best tend to be more male in these areas. This one I think is interesting. The most winning person on the television show Jeopardy, the trivia television show Jeopardy, is a trans woman. The most consecutive games by anyone in Jeopardy is a female contestant. Amy Schneider sets the record for most consecutive games won by a woman. She is a biological man. So now the record for the quote unquote smartest woman is actually held by a biological man.
Something just doesn't sound fair.
It doesn't sound fair. But is it fair to say, Amy Schneider, you can't play Jeopardy? That's not fair either. But to say that she is the best woman at Jeopardy.
I had an idea.
Yeah.
Like a long time ago. And then I saw somebody on YouTube say it. I was like, you see, it's so smart. We just give the trans people and all those people a third division for themselves that they can do whatever they want to do. Whatever sports they want to do, they can do it against other trans people. So it's just a mixture of just all of the. So it's fair. It's fair-ish.
Yeah. Well, what's the downside to that? Let's challenge that. I hear you. So what's the challenge to that? Maybe there's not enough. Maybe that trans people don't want to be in their own category. Maybe they just want to be with everyone else. I mean, in Jeopardy, it's men versus women all the time. So maybe it's like, you know what? You can do that, but let's not call her a woman. Let's call her a trans woman so it's more accurate. And when it comes to sports, people don't have any issue. Like the Super Bowl played yesterday. It was all men on the field. Why wasn't there a woman on the field? Because of the patriarchy? Because they said, we don't want women to play? No. If there was a woman that could play in the NFL, she would play in the NFL. It's not that they're not allowed to. It's just there isn't a woman on the planet that could play in the NFL at the level of the Super Bowl, because these are the most dominant alpha people on the planet, and the most dominant alpha physical people on the planet tend to be men. There are women who can beat men in football, but not at the highest level. The NFL is not a men's league. The NBA is not a men's league. So why do they have a female league, a women's league, the WNBA? Because they need their own league. If a woman was good enough in the WNBA to play in the NBA, she'd play in the NBA. It's not why there's no female Navy SEALs. We don't want women here. If you're a soldier, it's like, is she the best soldier? Yes. Is she the best football player? Yes. Then we want her. We don't care. The best brain surgeon? Sure. We don't care. This is an interesting one. As ladies, you're being pushed into getting careers. Great. Go get a career. Who's going to do the traditional female roles? Who's going to take care of the kids? Who's going to clean the house? Someone needs to clean the house. Someone needs to raise the kids. So who typically does that? So Alana, Harry, you go off, you get a great career. You're working 60-hour weeks, long days, long nights. You're working weekends in your office. Who's going to raise the kids? What are you going to do?
Well, I could get a nanny.
You get a nanny. Yes, you get a nanny. What gender is that nanny likely to be?
Woman.
It's a woman. So this idea of like shadow mothers is this concept that just because it's not that all women are leaving the household, the quote unquote household duties, it's that some women are, but the more feminine duties of raising the kids and maintaining the house and being a homemaker, that is going to be other women. So women are still doing that job. Just someone else is going to do it. So it creates this class system now. It might be like, you know, an immigrant from Guatemala now, woman, is raising your kids. But it doesn't change the fact that you're probably not going to hire a male nanny. You're going to hire a female nanny. So this thing of like, well, women are going to get out of the house. We still have the problem of who's raising the kids, who's cleaning the house, who are domestic staff, who is typically part of like a maid service, women. Who's typically nannies, babysitters, women. So you go off into the corporate America, great. Now you're hiring a woman to do those womanly duties. I think that's interesting. Gender matters in civics. Society has always had gender roles, and we're foolish to ignore, but also foolish not to update and progress with those roles. We have to figure this out. Like, how long have men and women been working together in corporate America as equals? It's been like 60 years. Can men and women work together in a big corporation? Yes, they can. Are you sure? We've only been doing this for 60 years. I know 60-year-olds. They're out running triathlons. That's not that long ago. So this like blind assumption that just men and women can work together and no problems will arise. We just haven't been doing it long enough. There are problems arising. What if you're attracted to the guy in the cubicle next to you or the woman in the cubicle next to you? Are you allowed to talk to them? Are you allowed to flirt with them? Ladies, should you be allowed to wear makeup? Are you allowed to wear revealing clothing? Can you show cleavage at workplace? No. How much? No. Can you wear makeup at work? Yes, you should be able to wear makeup at work. How much makeup? What does makeup even signal? When you wear makeup, that signals something. You know, red lipstick or blush, that resembles your face getting flushed with blood, which happens when you're going through an emotional reaction to when you're like embarrassed, or it could be when you're attracted to someone. You know, a really handsome guy, a really pretty girl comes up and talks to you and you're attracted to them. You get blood rushing to your head. You get nervous. Makeup signifies some of that. Even high heels. One of the things that high heels does is it is it raises your heels, which pushes your hips forward, which could be deemed as some sort of like more sexual signal. Not saying, ladies, you should not wear makeup. I'm not saying you should not wear high heels. I'm saying that when you do that in the workplace, you show up at the workplace and you look good, whatever looking good is, and men look at you in a more sexual way as a potential partner for them, that can disrupt the dynamic in an office. And we just haven't been doing it long enough, so we haven't sorted this out. But what society is going to tell you is it's all good, it's fine, wear whatever you want, it's up to the men to just control themselves. I agree that they should control themselves, but you can't always control like what you're attracted to. Sometimes you might see a dude on the street or at a coffee shop, you're like, he's good looking, and you want to look at him. You see a pretty girl, you want to look at her. What if that makes her uncomfortable? Well, you don't want to make her uncomfortable. Like, this is just stuff that I want you to think about as you go out into the world. And we have to figure it out. We have to sort this out. Okay. Wealth. I covered wealth already, I think, right? I think I covered wealth. But median household income, yeah, I covered all this. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to stop here. But what are like some takeaways from this? Is there anything from this that you learned or that you're going to be thinking about kind of moving forward? Or is this kind of stuff that you already knew? Or any questions that you have about this?